Good afternoon and welcome to the marketplace. Coming up in this bulletin, significant changes in the country's economic data pushes the Bank of Ghana to hold an emergency monetary policy committee meeting. We'll bring you an update on that shortly. Also coming up, the Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama charges members of the Monetary Policy Committee to be guided by ways to support ongoing recovery. We have more of this right after this. My name is Winston Take, now to our first business story. There have been significant changes in the country's economic data, and the Bank of Ghana has to act fast. This is one of several reasons that he has forced the central bank to hold an emergency monetary policy committee meeting today instead of ending of this month. More in this report.
Vacantly to 13.7% for June this year, and there are strong indications that it could go down by some huge margin for the month of July. So, if the Bank of Ghana's aim is inflation targeting, then they have to respond. Producer price index for May also posted some decline, 5.9% since November 2023. Therefore, with all these developments, the Bank of Ghana believes it has to move quickly and act, breaking the convention where the Monetary Policy Committee meeting is held after the mid-year budget presentation in July. There are strong indications that the members of the Monetary Policy Committee may soften their stance and review the policy rate from the current 28%. Some of the members are still worried about external developments and even the 1 cedi levy on fuel prices on the economy. But despite all these developments, Ghanaians should brace themselves for some surprise when the new policy rate is announced tomorrow by the Governor of the Bank of Ghana.
Now let's get on to Zoom and speak to economist Professor Peter Korte on expectations for this meeting. Good afternoon, Prof. It's good to have you here on the marketplace. What do you make of this emergency meeting by the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana today?
Yeah, good afternoon to your discerning viewers. I think the Bank of Ghana is being proactive in the sense that they don't want to wait and do a knee-jerk reaction or any post-mortem. Basically, they want to address the issues before they hit us. And basically, what is happening is that the macroeconomic fundamentals seems getting better. We see inflation trending downwards. We've seen the exchange rate being stable and may remain stable in the medium term because our external reserves are stronger. We have enough buffers. We've seen inflation expectations also going down. So with all of this, and also with very decent growth rates in the first quarter of 2025, and with all this happening, it signals that there's a need to look at our policy rate, currently over 28%, when inflation is around 13.5%. So that tells you that given the fiscal consolidation we are pursuing, we also have to look at the policy rate and the need to reduce it. Once that is reduced, it will have some effects on loanable funds, how much we pay for the loans we take, and that can translate into higher investment and promote growth and livelihood improvement.
Prof, do you also think that it was right for the Monetary Policy Committee to hold this meeting before the mid-year budget review, which is scheduled for next week?
Oh, I think so. I mean, nothing is cast in stone that they have to meet after. I mean, they normally meet at certain times. When you are proactive, you are not reactive, then there is a need to meet as and when you think. And I believe there's coordination, fiscal and monetary coordination. So the monetary sector, that is Bank of Ghana, is holding this meeting so that they will feed into the mid-year review. And I think it's in order. Once there is that coordination and you know that they are going to read the budget, the mid-year review, you have to make input. And some of this input will require having to meet the Monetary Policy Committee to review the current situation so that when you take a decision, it becomes something that is acceptable, becomes something that is sustainable. So it is certainly in order.
Prof, let's concentrate on the charge by the governor to the members of the Monetary Policy Committee. Do you think it's in the right direction?
I certainly agree with the charge. I mean, these are members, although individually, they are individuals. Collectively, they are responsible. Of course, the committee is chaired by the governor, but they are collectively responsible for any action or inaction. And therefore, as chairman of a board or a committee, you need to get your members, you need to encourage them, you need to keep them in line and ensure that you achieve your mandate. So it's timely and very much in order.
Before I let you go, what do you also make of the economic data for the first half of 2025?
So far, we've seen very decent trends. Of course, we built on what we saw in December, after the DTEP and the IMF program. Gradually, we're seeing some decent statistics coming out. And I think we have deepened that progress in the first quarter of the year and getting into the second quarter. So we've seen about 5.3% GDP growth rate. We've seen inflation trending from 23 to about 13.5, and it's likely it might even go down. Exchange rate appreciation over such a longer period hasn't happened in a long, as far as I can recall, hasn't happened in a long term. Of course, the global external factors are also key, but internal factors or policies are also very relevant in achieving what we've done. So far, I think the indicators are good, and we need to deepen that. We don't have to be complacent. It's early days yet. We are a developing country. We need to develop. It's taken us too long to develop, and therefore, when we are seeing some gains, this is about time we capitalize on the gains and escalate the growth process so we can lift many people out of poverty.
Prof, based on the key improvements in these indicators you just made mention of, what projection would you give, especially for the MPC, and also by how much margin?
Yeah, I'm more of a gradualistic process. I believe in being more gradual than being drastic at a point. Given that the international or the global economy has some uncertainty, I would project 100 to 200 basis points reduction. We don't have to be very drastic now. And then study the market, study the trends, and then gradually adjust the rate downwards or upwards or maintain the rate depending on what factors come to play, but being very proactive and not reactive. I think that is fine. So for me, any reduction in the range of 100 to 200 basis points is well in order.
Mr. Peter Kote, we appreciate your time sincerely here on the marketplace. Thank you for speaking with us. And now we're still staying on the central bank. The Bank of Ghana Governor, Dr. Johnson Isiama, has charged members of the Monetary Policy Committee to ensure that their decisions are guided by how to support the ongoing economic recovery without comparing the gains achieved. My colleague George Wiafe has been following up on this meeting and joins us with more insight from what is happening behind the closed doors at the governor's office. George, what can you tell us based on what is happening from the government?
So these are normally, there's a opening remarks by the governor, and these are some of the things that we are picking from the meeting that, as we speak right now, is currently ongoing in the boardroom of the Bank of Ghana. And the governor, as you said earlier on, he's also making some interesting argument about the fact that another critical economic data is inflation as well. And you know that the main aim of the Bank of Ghana is what they call the inflation targeted. So if you've seen all these things coming down, how should you respond to it? The governor is in one breath not trying to dictate to the members about what to do, but also saying that look at all these things and react to it. And if you go, I mean, you earlier on explained about the charge to the members and what they have to do and not what they also have to do. and then doesn't look at the fact that, look at the ongoing economic data. And if it suggests that you should cut the rate by some significant margin, do that as well. If you also go through again, you try to look at terms of information, what we've picked up, the governor also mentioned about the inflation data as well. And the bit about economic data. So in doing all these things, how is the environment responding? Is the data supporting a reduction? You look at provisional, you're having a surplus of $5.6 billion. If you should pin your mind on what the governor is saying, then it appears that the members of the Monetary Policy Committee may not have any excuse than to cut the rates. Now, the biggest elephant in the room here, or the biggest question here, is what would be the margin of reduction? Inflation is 13.7%. You have a policy rate of 28%. Also, Peter Kote said that should you do a drastic cut, or again, it should be marginal. Let's look at another economic...
Kote was saying 200 basis points. Body language-wise, and possibly how things mannerism within the monetary policy meeting, do you sure we are going to see significant marginal?
Let me point you to another data as well that should also send some interesting numbers. And he was talking about liquidity conditions are still tight. We must remain. One interesting thing when you follow these meetings is that in one breath, they are worried about something. In another breath, they also say something. So look at what the governor is saying when we picked up from the meetings. Liquidity conditions are still tight, and we must remain attentive to the pace and breadth of the policy transmission, and particularly to credit channels and also productive sectors as well. So again, if you look at all these things, it appears that the governor himself is for a policy cut. But all these members on the committee are quite independent members as well. So it appears that he can't force them on what to do. But if you take him as the chairman of the committee, he thinks that the right thing to do now is to cut the policy rate. What we don't know will be the margin of cut.
He's raised considerable concerns about the increase in NPL rate, and I'm sure it will certainly be sitting with some of this narrative going forward.
Let's also watch another thing, as what we picked up from the meeting as well, and what the governor has been saying as well, in terms of the fact that...
That's in the next slide.
In terms of the fact that there are still these issues about the rising NPLs and all those things. And that means that if the rate should go down, maybe it shouldn't be that significant in terms of how the policy committee or the monetary policy committee respond by the margin of reduction when it comes to the policy rate.
Okay, so we'll follow up on the actual representation, and we'll get to know the details of what the central bank will be saying. And of course, the markets are observing. But finally, today, the governor will be speaking. Certainly, we'll be anticipating that he'll be saying much more.
He won't be speaking today. He'll be speaking tomorrow when the meeting ends. So these are closed-door sessions, so nothing has come out yet. But these are things that we are picking from the meeting. So expect an announcement rather tomorrow, or maybe expect whether the Bank of Ghana itself will issue any formal statement as in this is what the committee has been discussing pre the meeting for us to know. But as we speak, nothing is out from the Bank of Ghana. Tomorrow, we should expect the governor to announce their decision on what they've taken today.
I just hope he'll give a hint during this presentation at UPSA this afternoon.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, George Wiafe, for bringing us that up-to-date information from what is happening, or the committee meeting happening today. Now, still staying on this development, let's still talk to the Chief Executive of the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs, Sharif Gali, who is joining us right now on Zoom to tell us the expectation on the policy rate. Sharif, welcome to the marketplace, and what do you expect basically for your members?
Thank you very much, joining us for the opportunity once again. And just like Prof said earlier on, for us, we see a bank that is more proactive, and having to call a meeting earlier than suspected is a good sign. But from the entrepreneurship and SMEs point of view, we are looking at an expected reduction or announcement of at least a modest rate cut, ideally between 100 to 200 basis points. If you look at the fact that inflation has dropped to at least about 13.7%, which is the lowest we have seen in some years now. We still have the monetary policy rate as high as 28%, which is so high, and it's stifling businesses' growth as far as young people are concerned. So we believe that a well-calibrated cut would signal confidence in Ghana's microeconomic stability, while providing certain relief for struggling SMEs. That said, we believe that any cut must be cautious and data-driven. We recognize inflation expectations still need anchoring, just like the governor will say. But without easing credit conditions, we believe that we will reach stalling private sector growth. So yes, representing young entrepreneurs, we expect a cut between 100 to 200 basis points, hopefully from the bank or the committee tomorrow.
I want to understand from you, SMEs critically, one of the key challenges you've been quite consistent about is access to cheap capital, not just capital. We want to know the current condition of capital state and also the NPL rate from the SME perspective.
It's still a lingering issue. It's still a thing that SMEs have to battle with, especially in Ghana. If you look at borrowing costs, it's one of the highest in the region, and so you can imagine SMEs having to borrow at 28%, as high as 34% from certain banks, as you may be aware. And so these SMEs are to compete with other SMEs coming into our market as far as AFCFT is concerned. So it is very difficult. And especially when you break it down to the young people I lead, I mean the young entrepreneurs, you would realize that cost of borrowing is so very high for them. And so we're looking at if there is a moderate cut or reducing the rate, we'll definitely see borrowing costs reducing. And many young entrepreneurs who simply may not be able to afford the current interest rate, a cut would definitely mean that they have access to cheap capital for expansion and job creation and innovation. One thing that it would also do for us, or that has been a challenge that we believe it would solve, is it would improve cash flow. You see, with reduced loan servicing burdens, where young people have to pay loans up to 34% or so, and having to pay a lot of interest, businesses, if we have a reduction, businesses can then be burdened of the fact of having more cash in, so they can reinvest in their operations, hire more staff, and that means they will create more employment. So yes, capital access is very important for SMEs. And it's not just at the assets, it's the cost of accessing that capital as well. And we believe that any little cut will be so appreciative for the SMEs to allow them be able to create more, reinvest, and create more jobs for youth in Ghana.
So finally, I want to get from you, what is, apart from capital, what is the most recent challenge that is confronting SMEs, and which regions would you say are more dominant especially?
So one of the key things, apart from access to finances, there are two actually, permit me to say, access to market and that of the capacity to be able to run sustainable business. It's been one of two key things that really are stifling the growth of businesses in Ghana, where SMEs are not able to, or SMEs don't have the needed technical skills to be able to grow their businesses. And I wouldn't say it's peculiar to one region, just that regions like the Greater Accra and Ashanti region may be better because of the prevalence of technical expertise that help some of these businesses, and the existence of incubation and innovation hubs across other regions. Other regions don't even have at all. They don't even have the personnel that would give them the technical advice. So what it literally means is that SME is running their business without knowing anything about compliance, without knowing anything about marketing or the rest that they need technically. They don't even have any knowledge on bookkeeping, so they are just running their business. So it's one thing. And then the access to market is also very important, because you have SMEs that have to compete with big giants in their market. I always use an example of a young entrepreneurs I lead from the Ashanti region, that if you see their shoe, Whitson, you will not believe that this shoe is made in Ghana or made in Kumasi. It's top notch. You would think it's coming from Italy or any other country. But the question is that these young people go to the market and they are struggling with over thousands of different brands of shoes coming from Italy and almost everywhere, including China. How do you expect such a young business owner, SME, who is into this same industry to be able to compete with this one, because most of them come and they are more cheaper. And because of the cost of input, he may not be able to charge very cheap, and it's becoming difficult. So it would be good that policies like government coming in to deliberately say, I am buying from these young people, and this would help them also be able to have access to markets.
All right.
Yeah.
Sharif, we appreciate your time here on the marketplace. We'll subsequently be following up for subsequent conversation. This is where we take a short break. We have more business insight for you after this. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Marketplace Live on the Joy News channel. My name is Winston Taki, and now to more business update. The Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SSNIT, has announced that government has cleared arrears owed to the trust from October 2024. According to SSNIT, it has also received commitment from government to settle the outstanding arrears from January to date. Speaking to Joy Business, Director General of SSNIT, Kwesi Afre-Bynett, stated that the clearance of arrears is a significant development for SSNIT, as it will improve the trust's financial stability and enable it to meet its obligations to contributors.
The Ministry of Finance has been very helpful in the payment of contributions for SSNIT. At the beginning point of the year, there were arrears from October last year. Those arrears have been cleared by government. From January to date, government has been on track with their payments to SSNIT. And I would want to commend the Finance Minister and his team for a good job well done. We are tracking well with some of the things that we sought to do. One of the things that we sought to do was to expand coverage. And we started the year by delivering 2 new branches for SSNIT. We also said we're going to deliver a virtual branch by the end of September. Again, part of the broader strategy to expand coverage. We've also announced today that we are in partnerships with banks to deliver what we call co-location. And we are pretty confident that that enables us to scale from the current 53 branches to about 100 touch points, because we've identified banks, the conversations are ongoing, the systems are being put in place so that we can then provide SSNIT services at the banking halls of some of these banks. And that will scale up the contact points from about 53 today to about 100 before the end of the year.
Government says it's aggressively working to increase investment within the technical and vocational education and training TVET sector. Minister of Education Haruna Idrisu says expanded investment in this space is critical to addressing Ghana's unemployment challenges, particularly among the youth. He made the remarks at the launch of National TVET Week, an event aimed at promoting skills development and highlighting opportunities in the vocational sector.
Help build employable skills. How does TVET contribute to employment? And that without any fear of contradiction, I say strongly that if you invest in TVET, you are creating job creators and not job seekers. That is the reason why we should invest in technical and vocational education. These young people, if properly exposed with solid infrastructure of retooled equipments, they will live here assured that they would also provide employment opportunities for others, including themselves. Then more importantly, entrepreneurship. It is one of the motivations why I'm pushing strongly, I may sound repetitive, the establishment of a technical and vocational education fund to solely support TVET and technical education.
That's all for business here on the marketplace. We have more updates on the marketplace on myjoyonline.com/business. And you see, be guided by steps to support ongoing recovery without compromising gains. That is the governor speaking there. He also highlighted about the emergency meeting that is ongoing today. My name is Winston Taki. Thanks for watching. Have a good business day. Bye-bye.